As you would have seen over the weekend, and as I mentioned just prior to the 12 o'clock news, Jan Tinetti, the former Education Minister, was on one of the weekend political shows on television and condemning charter schools as being some sort of great abhorrent evil and how Labor will get rid of them as a central tenet of faith if they are returned to power. Our next guest is somebody who's in actual fact going to be setting up charter schools and has an educational consultant and commentator of some repute. He's been a former school principal himself, and he's a bit of a train spotter, I have to say, also when it comes to education stats, which is perhaps just as well. Alwyn Poole joins us now. Alwyn, welcome to the show. You're on a temporary phone, mate. What happened to your last phone?
It's on holiday in the Bay of Islands, and I'm not. Yeah, I left it there, but it's okay.
Are you going to retrieve it at some stage, or are you going to just say, no, this is my new number?
No, this is my new number. This is my gorgeous wife's number, so I'm just allowed to use it for 2 minutes.
Oh, okay. Oh, God.
Yeah.
It'll be under the thumb now, mate. Listen, just going
on
on
the police thing, I was going to say on the police thing, and I'll come back to the train spotting thing because I've been accused of that body before, but I got pulled over on the way to Cambridge the other day. And, I thought it was a fairly dubious sort of situation. And I said, yeah, I'm not quite sure you've got that right. And he sort of wouldn't let me look at the camera and all that sort of stuff. And he said, but you're a serial speeder. And I thought, what? Yes, I've probably been pulled over 6 times since I got my licence in 1983. But, yeah, I did wonder, what's he looking at on his screen, on his record, to label me a serial speeder. So,
that's fascinating. So he can pull up all the information of all the times you've been fined for speeding.
Mm-hmm. Seems to be, yeah.
And so what you're thinking is you've got in your mind, Mr. Police Officer, that I was speeding, but I don't think I was, and you could potentially have a prejudiced view of me and the offence I may or may not have committed.
Yes, I think that was the case. But yeah, no, I was interested for what you were saying there, but also that he could tell me exactly what he thought of me based on what he could see on a screen.
Did you argue with him, Alwyn?
I did a little bit.
Did you give him a good Wanganui stare back?
Well, not quite that. I sort of won't go into how he went about his business, but I don't think he did it appropriately. So, yeah.
Isn't it funny too?
It didn't come down to argy-bargy,
No, I understand that. But for most New Zealanders, only interchange with the police or exchange with the police will be in the situation you've just described.
That's correct.
It's always a negative interaction. And it flavours how we view the police. So
it's not always. I mean, I remember sometime last year, I think I was driving towards the north, and I came around a bend and saw the police car and saw that I was doing 115, and basically I pulled over before he pulled me over, and said, "Yep, sorry about that. Thanks for the ticket. See you later." Because but this was a different situation, and you're right. Sometimes they are negative interactions. And he gave me the old, just go through the complaints process then. But how that's going to work.
Yes.
So, yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Moving on. The train spotting bit. The education. And thank God you are a train spotter on this issue, by the way, because
thank you.
I see very little coverage of it usually in the media, in the mainstream media, and they very rarely do anything other than whatever the press releases that might come out from the Ministry of Education, and then that's the end of it. You tend to analyse these things much greater. But the 2023 NCEA results come out. It's August. Is that quite late?
No, so what happens, and Education Counts acknowledges the set that's coming out now as the indicative set. It's the set for school leavers from 2023.
Right.
So it's the set that tells you actually how schools have done with their full intake as opposed to their survivors at year 13, year 12 or year 11. And it's the most telling stats about our system. So at the moment, they have up, and sort of I can glean some system-wide things, and they are startling statistics. So, for instance, we now have 28.3 of our Māori boys and girls leaving school without NCEA level 1.
Yeah, I know. That's stunning. That's almost 30%. Yeah. That's incredible. Yep.
Yeah, so 4,000 Māori youth left our schools last year
with no qualifications
without the most basic qualification.
Yeah.
And we've funded those children for, I think, 11,200 hours. And someone said to me, well, that's needed to get off their backsides and get things done. And my response to that is, what schools are supposed to be able to do is when everything else is failing in that child's life, including the child, they're supposed to lift them up and get them over a line. And NCEA level 1 is not difficult, so that's a tragedy.
You just concentrated on the Māori figures there. What's the non-Māori figures for passing NCEA level 1?
Yeah, we're still around, I think it's now about 18%, which is sort of stunning. And, the overall rates in terms of leavers for level 1, level 2, level 3 NCEA and university entrance is now in sharp decline, and has been so now for a number of years. And yes, I do concentrate to some extent on the Māori situation because there are huge flow-on effects for those children, their families or prospective families, society as a whole, as there is when any child leaves school without reasonable qualifications. And it's bad, but I guess one of the issues is it's getting worse. I mean, at university entrance, I think it's about around 1 in 6 Māori students now leave school with university entrance. And
I'll just go through that. I'll just go through that with because you've put out the stats in what I've seen. So I'll just share that with our listeners. For 2023, the UE standard, which is higher than level 3, isn't it? NCEA level 3. It's a higher academic standard.
It sort of is, because you have to choose from quite a broad set of subjects, but they have to be what they call the accredited subjects.
Yeah, okay. So the UE standard for last year, for 2023, 17.6%. Note these stats, everybody. 17.6% of Māori school leavers attained it. So as you say, that's about 1 in 6. Less than 22% of Pacific Islanders, 60% of Asians, and 41% of Pākehā. Every year when those stats come out and those sorts of discrepancies are displayed, you wonder why they aren't front page, because they demonstrate everything I would have thought about our society in just one simple stat, don't they?
I think they are a really significant marker. And one of our issues, both from a societal and an education perspective, is you're right, we barely blink. And it's almost taken as the norm. And if you sort of broke it down to the average person, Joe Lunchbox on the street, and you said, well, why does this happen? They would tend to say, well, Asian families, they're good, et cetera. And, most European families are okay, but then this. But that's what I keep saying again and again. These are the things that our state school system is theoretically designed to overcome.
Yeah.
But I know because I hear from people that what happens time and again in schools is people see the situation a child's coming from, whether it's poverty, whether it's ethnicity, whether it's who their family have been, all that sort of stuff. And these kids get labelled from the beginning. And as I've always said to teachers that I've worked with, if you have a child come to you who is behind, you must consider it environmental, and your job is to get them up, and a long way up.